Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another special episode of Night of the Nerdy Laser podcast. We have deviated from our regularly scheduled programming to bring you a special edition because guess what? We went to the
We
movies.
all went to the movies.
Mhm.
Even Jeff.
Let's go to the mall. Um, and we watched Barbarian. That's right. It's the number one movie in America, or at least it was there for a hot second. And it's everybody was talking about it. Everybody was raving about it. You love it. You hate it. I don't know. We went and saw it. We're gonna
I
break it
know.
down. We're gonna talk about this flick. And I just want to say that I've spent the past few days forcing Richard to drink from the milk of the teat of my breast.
It's, yeah,
Delicious.
it's been tough. It's been a rough few days. Are
I
you
am
going to
swollen.
introduce yourself, Matthew?
Oh, yeah, sure. I am swollen nipples Henry. I'm Matt Henry with nipples like a racer's.
I am Richard Whited Justin Long, measure every inch of open space that he had. Yule?
And I'm Jeff Lown without a nickname.
Now, Richard, you're going to have to come up with another reason why you hate this movie.
I can. I got one more.
Okay.
No, but this was cool because me and Matt live about an hour away from each other, and we see each other probably too much. But Jeff lives all the way up in pot smoking Colorado, so he actually came into town, and so
Yeah.
we all spent the weekend together, cuddled and watched a movie. So this was really fun. We watched this and we went and seen Pearl, which we'll be airing our review on that pretty soon.
Yep.
And you stayed in your own version of an Airbnb. Did you find Richard's secret dungeon and Richard's secret baby tapes?
He had it covered up pretty good, so no,
I was
didn't
gonna say
find them.
he didn't see the secret door that we had locked behind the desk, so it's all good.
Yeah, no, that was fun. I'm glad I came out there, and like I say, thanks. It was a
Yeah.
good time.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I was exhausted. I'm probably
Yeah,
still
I still
catching up.
am.
Yeah. Yeah. I had the day off today, but I was pretty busy. So
Yeah.
these two guys made me feel bad about me being a pack rat and not having my shit together. So
Oh, you've been organized. Listen, what's one
I
of the
haven't
favorite things to
organized
do?
my room. I'm it's step by step.
Day by day.
Both my cars are now clean as a whistle. So I'm proud of that because they weren't. And I did some other stuff, but I am going to get to my movies one day.
It's a problem, okay? Space is an issue. Whenever I started this whole podcasting convention thing, and I said, I'll never fill up all my walls with sign posters. And now I have sign posters in
You're
storage.
done.
I don't know what to do with them.
Where the most important question? Where's the Christmas tree?
It's right where you left it, Jeff.
All right, good. That's where it needs
When,
to be.
when the sun fades it and my wife divorces me, I'm coming up and living with you and your dad.
All right. Yeah, deal.
And then we're going to record it and make it a 30-minute sitcom.
Hey, we'll make some money while we're at it.
Y'all gonna leave me down here in Hickville by myself? Y'all gonna leave me-
You got your own reality show down here.
This is true. This is true. Oh man. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about the weird buzz around this movie and just kind of where it came from, because I think it's very obvious to everybody that it literally came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I never heard of it until like the week that it was coming out.
Yeah, I saw a trailer months ago, forgot what it was until my wife was like, "We should see Barbarian." I'm like, "Conan? The Barbarian? What are we talking about?" Literally just kind of out of nowhere became a number one hit. It's obviously probably made more than its money back. And I think a lot of that has to do with the concept, right?
I think so.
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You got a a young lady who is on a job interview, and instead of renting a hotel or motel, she's decided to stay at an Airbnb. She gets to the Airbnb. It's in a horrible part of town. Now, it's so dark you can't really see anything, but she can tell that there's no electricity around really, and there's just this house that looks brand new in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by what looks like junk, kind of. And she rings on she's trying to put the number in the thing to open the key and get it out, and it's working, but the key's not in there. The door's locked. She's banging. She's like, what the hell? She tries to call him. Nothing. She goes back to her car. Light comes on. Come to find out, Mr. Skarsgård, Pennywise himself, is inside the Airbnb, and somehow they got double booked. Boom.
2 different apps. Easy premise. Right?
And this is true. I work at Westgate, and you can use 2 different apps. You can use Airbnb, and you can actually use. There's another app you can use. So this kind of thing can and does happen. So right off the bat, great premise, great idea, great concept.
I mean, it is great, but I mean, I just think that from the get-go, you have to like really like no matter the situation, it was raining and blah blah blah. I mean, what woman, for sure, would stay with a total stranger?
I will forgive it, and I'll tell you why I forgive it as we get
You
into the
like it.
conversation that they have. But also, we're talking about younger, independent women. This isn't your typical girl. She is a workforce type of female. She seems like she has total control, and she seems like she could live her whole life on her own. And you know what I'm saying? She doesn't seem like your typical girly girl.
My wife does not need me at all.
I mean,
outside of staying, we live in a haunted house, so I guess that helps my odds. But I mean, I guess it is sometimes harder to, they're probably 30. So, I mean, I'm a grumpy old man compared to them. So it's harder for me to put myself in other movie characters' shoes. And I think that becomes a problem for people.
She does show signs of caution, though. It's not like she just was like, okay, I'll stay. Okay, I'll do this. At everything, the director and writer made it a point to like even, acknowledge some of those points, like the wine and locking the door and all that stuff. That plays into what happens as well.
The tea, he makes her tea and she wouldn't drink it. And I mean, I do appreciate that. So not knowing anything about this movie, you just assume, or even I guess if you watch a trailer, I don't know, I've never seen a trailer for it, but I guess you assume that Skarsgård is the villain, but
you'd be wrong. But see, what I do like about...
They should have played that as him the villain. Like, if they were smart,
if they were predictable,
they would... No, it wouldn't have been. If you thought Alex Skarsgård would... It's like the greatest trailer experience I ever had was the movie Red Eye, where it looked like some hokey ass romance movie, and then it turns out that he's actually...
Well, that's different. She's on a plane with multiple other people. The fact that she's checking into an Airbnb and there's a stranger there sets it up as him the villain. I mean, he is obvious. He's kind of a red herring while not being a red herring. It's weird how they do it, but I do appreciate the fact that it's like she goes into the bathroom, she looks in his bag, because when you look in people's bag, took pictures of the wallet. She was looking in his bag. She was seeing that, he was a normal dude. She looks on the ground. Maybe. She looks on the ground and his electronical toothbrush is on the ground. Now, I'm just telling you myself, if I was staying in a location and my plan was to murder a young woman, I probably wouldn't plug my electronic toothbrush up on the ground or just have it there at all unless I'm Patrick Bateman. I mean, it wouldn't happen. So they do a really great job, and that's one of my favorite scenes is Skarsgård trying to talk his way out of trying to talk himself into convincing her that he's a decent guy. And a lot of that does have to do with the scene with the wine bottle. I really, really dug that. And then whenever he confesses that he's seen the documentary and he's a jazz musician or something himself, they connect on something. And then a little miniature friendship begins to unfurl there.
Yeah, he's part of an urban development, like Renaissance group or something, where they bring in the artists and, you know, they kind of build around them and, you know, renovating kind of the bad part of the city. So they're in Detroit, Michigan. And like you were saying earlier, we don't really get that a view of the neighborhood until the next day.
Oh, dude, it's one of my favorite reveals of the whole movie.
It's so good and it's funny. And, you know, I had no clue really going into this about any of it, honestly. But I did end up looking up the director, and it's Zach Kreger, I think is how you say his name.
Whitest Kids You Ever Know.
Whitest Kids You Know, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, he has that comedy background, that sketch comedy background, you know, similar to, you know, Peele and all that stuff that he's doing. So they could craft these good, intense, like horror movies, while also at the same time, I think, using some stuff and elements of comedy in there to kind of keep the tension. You know, I think I told Richard it keeps like viewers' expectations down because it like lulls them into this is kind of funny now. But then when they pack that punch of the horror in it, it becomes even more effective.
Well, it's also, I mean, it does feel like the punchline to a joke, you know, like stayed at an Airbnb, it was pitch black, walked outside, and I looked around and it was a dumpster fire and some homeless guy started chasing me down the street. You know, like it sounds like the punchline to a joke. And what I love about the movie is where they could have literally had her check in that night, have that interaction with him, because she's like laying down in the bed and the door slowly opens. And then she looks out and she can see on the couch, Skarsgård is like tossing and turning. And then she goes and like wakes him up and he's kind of pissed off and freaked out a little bit, which I loved. And I thought, okay, the horror's about to begin. But no, we cut to the next day. She walks out. She sees where she's at. All of a sudden she goes, well, I mean, this is a bad part of town. And then she then proceeds to go to her job interview, which goes well, right?
Yeah.
Then there's a whole nother, we assume. But, and then she tells the woman like where she's staying. She's like, oh no, you should stay with me or come down here. That's a bad part of town.
Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
But she has kind of fallen for Skarsgård, so she wants to go back and stay with him.
Yeah, possibly. Or she's just very independent. You know, she's very just.
You can hang your hat on that, but I ain't buying it, Matthew.
I mean, dude, it's not like, I mean, it's possible, yes. But what I do love is that, so the movie kind of messes with your expectations in that way, because then you're like, oh, this started out as a horror trope, then everything was fine. And then we go back to the house again, and you're like, okay, how are they going to unravel this now? And that's kind of what this movie continues to do. It's a constant, like, how are they going to unravel this now? How's this going to go now?
Well,
now we're over here. It's like,
it plays against the tropes, the standard tropes. You're like, okay, the guy's going to be the creep. Nope. Something's going to happen at night. Nope. You know, whatever you kind of think, he kind of goes the opposite way. He kind of like does a swerve on it. But another thing that we do see in this film, and I want to mention, is some really good camera work, some good shots. And the reason I bring that up is because when we get that shot of Skarsgård sleeping on the couch, we kind of pan out and we could see that door that leads to the basement closing at the same time. Like it was slowly closing. So, and it does that a few times, not so much that exact door, but there's something weird about all the doors where that one shuts itself.
Well, the basement door does too. And I don't, that's my other big problem. I don't understand. I don't like that.
Yeah, but I mean, all that stuff goes to me saying that the shots are really unique and good, because like when they're pulling the rope on that door, you know, we get the shot through like the walls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that about this film. So
It doesn't bother me that the door closes on its own. I've been in houses where that's happened before. I mean, doors slowly close on their own.
The hell out.
No, it's just it's like an old house. Things
Well,
aren't level
this house was
or
built in
whatever
the
it may be.
30s. None of these doors shut by themselves.
I mean, my grandmother did have there was a door in her house that would constantly shut by itself.
That's because there was a naked
Ghost
woman.
there?
Yeah, that's naked old woman.
Listen, if there was
to
a naked woman
get-
there whenever I was a teenager,
It was
I
your
wouldn't be
grandmother?
afraid of her. I'd be trying to fuck her. Well, not my grandmother. That would not be good.
Well, I'm talking about the naked old woman from
I'd
Barbarian.
be like, I'll suck your teeth willingly.
like in Liar Liar, like the mama.
Yeah. Oh my God. So, okay.
Lynn Shay and Kingpin.
God. So what I do like about and it's weird, I can't even really remember how she gets down there to begin with.
She's looking for something. She's looking for something. I can't remember.
Looking for him
or detergent or something, because she's looking. She's looking for something. Toilet paper. See?
Ah, yes.
I knew it was
she
something.
was looking for something.
Yeah,
yes. Okay. So,
but at that point it was too late. She had already pulled up her britches. Peas everywhere. Doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Unless there was poo there. But
that changes the story.
It does, yeah. That means she's been down in that hole for days, covered in her own feces.
That's the real Barbarian.
Yeah. So then she finds this rope and opens this secret passageway. And what I love about this is it's still kind of believable up to this point, right? They could have put like a false wall there, and then there's the hallway and another little room off to the side because it's very small. And in this room there is a bed and a camera, and I'm like, okay, we got a really cool setup.
Old ass video camera, like on a tripod, but like one, like an 80s camcorder, like with the big microphone on it. And I mean, so you can tell this is really old, so it dates itself without having a stamp to it.
Mm-hmm. At this point, though, this is when she freaks out, right? And then this is when Skarsgård comes back because she thought she heard something down there.
She's locked in the basement too.
Yes, yeah, and she breaks, like he gets into the window, and he's able to get her out, and he wants to go and check it out. So he's doing the typical, like, he's doing the most horrible horror movie trope ever. Like, no, I have to see it to believe it, you know?
Yeah.
Which is kind of that.
I mean, at this point, I still thought he was kind of in on it.
Exactly. At that point, I did think he was in on it because I was like, why do you have to see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It actually probably would have been better if he was in on it, to be honest, but that's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. He could have done that weird thing with his eye, the bone. He could have been one of her children. He could have been. But so anyways, he ends up going down there. She doesn't hear anything. She follows him down there, and there's like another false door behind the wall that opens up into a deep, deep cave. Now, this is where you have to suspend your disbelief completely at this point from here on.
It's like stairs. It's stairs. Mm-hmm. Like if you've seen the poster, it's basically that.
Like this house was built on top of some ancient underground railroad.
Something like that, essentially. Because it just keeps going. Then there's like a tunnel system. There's some like kennels. There's, I guess, a pitfall at some point we see.
Think House of 1,000 Corpses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bunker.
And we all love that movie.
Yeah.
And it don't make a damn lick of sense.
It's true. I stand. But see, so here's part of my problem with like. So the movie is set in realistic times that automatically gives, as a movie or as a story, if you're realistic, you have rules that you have to play by. But a movie like House of 1,000 Corpses, it's not really that realistic. So it is able to veer from the set rules.
Touche. Yeah, I'll give you that. The tone is not the same.
Yeah. So that's the only reason that I kind of blame the movie for what it does. But in the end, I don't hate the movie. But it is funny because we were sitting there and the credits started rolling. I looked over to Matt and I was like, I think I hated it. And
I laughed so hard. This is one of my favorite lines of the weekend. I think I hated it because I looked over multiple times and Richard was just kind of leaned back.
Oh,
and I looked over and he was like, this face the whole time.
It is true. We went to Governor's Crossing and it has a electric seat. So I was like, and we had been running the whole day. Like we drove to North Carolina and everything. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to sleep. To be fair, I did not. I was very proud of myself.
No. So, okay, Jeff, break it down because this is when we get our first glimpse, right?
Yeah.
Because she finds Skarsgård.
Yeah, well, yeah, so he goes down there and one thing I liked about it too, before, he went down there, before she like finds him and all that stuff, she set up that like mirror to reflect the light to go down the dark thing. I like that.
Now I really like that.
It was always there. Like nobody moved it. Like,
yeah,
that was cool. And she used what she had around her to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's like, I'm going to go down there and look for it. She's like, all right, be careful or whatever. He goes down. We don't hear anything until we hear him scream. So,
well, you hear like, ah.
Yeah, he's screaming like for help. So she's what's his character's name in this anyway? Keith. Oh, so she's like, Keith, where you at? And like, she's so scared. She doesn't want to do it. But, typical horror movie fashion, she goes down there to see where he's at. She sees the cages, all that other stuff in this tunnel the stairs and all this like system. And she finds him eventually and he's kind of crawling on the floor, like in a panic. And he's scared. It's really good acting right here. And he's like, something bit me. We got to get out of here. And she's like, come on, let's just keep going. And he's like, no, we can't go that way. We can't go that way at all. And this is where we get probably our biggest like jump scare, I would say. Because he's still on the ground and all of a sudden this like gigantic naked, come to find out kind of inbred woman monster that sort of has like superpowers apparently. I don't know. Grabs
it's
him.
The Hills Have Eyes syndrome. Okay.
Smashes his head. She smashes his head against the rock and it does not hold back the creature or the film. Like it's showing his head getting smashed repeatedly over and over. And essentially just it's mushed. And then we get a cut with I think her like grabbing towards our main character. And then I didn't know where it was going to go from here. And we're introduced to our next story in the film.
Wait, are we first introduced to the past? Like
no. That comes at like a random moment later.
Yeah, it's later on. When when they both fall in the hole or whatever, or get to the hole, like the pit that Jeff was talking about. Like that's when
I like to call it the titty pit.
Oh, it reminded me of the dungeon.
Speaking of Jeff, I'm so glad you brought that up because we are sponsored by The Dungeon. That's right. Not the Titty Pitty, but the Dungeon at Southland. You can find
where you can go to see Jason's titties and pits.
Ask for his swollen nipples and he'll show them to you. And so this dungeon is not as scary as that one. Although it is warm down there right now, and I don't know why. But so it's the Dungeon at Southland. You can find them on Instagram at Southland_dungeon. So this has Blu-rays, DVDs, video games, tarot cards, puzzles, Blu-rays, VHS, Blu-rays, video games, soundtracks, vinyl, just about anything your nerdy, horrific heart desires is right there in Maryville, Tennessee, at the Roundabout on East Broadway. just go to southlandsbooksandcafe.com and you will find everything. All the links are in the show notes if you ever want to look that up. If you don't live in Maryville, it's okay. You can go to the Instagram, Southland_Dungeon, and you can find out what Jason got in, because he always takes pictures of the new stuff that has arrived. And if you see anything, just send him a message and y'all can work something out.
Yeah, and also if you want to go online and get your VIP tickets right now to FrankenCon, Bride of FrankenCon, this is the sequel, part 2. You can do that at FrankenConTN.com. We got Joe, Bob, Darcy, CJ, Felissa Rose, and a whole host of others. Just go to the website, check it out, and also go to the social medias.
That's right.
Now back to the titty bitty.
So we cut to Justin Long, who I knew was in this movie, but basically his character, it cuts to the beach, and what I'll give this movie is that it does throw you off, right? I mean, that's what it's meant to do. So I appreciate that part of it. Like they never want you to actually know what's going on. So it cuts to the beach, this cheery, happy music. Justin Long's dancing along, singing. Turns out he's a television writer, producer, and he gets a phone call. They just got picked up. Everything's going great. And then he's accused of sexual assault. Sexual misconduct. I mean, it turns out to be basically sexual assault. And so we go from the happiness, we go from one horror to another, where he's being accused of something and he's defending himself on the phone. So I like this part of it. But it does go very fast. So basically, he's like, his career's over. He's got some money left over, but a lot of that's going to have to be used for lawsuits.
Legal fees, yep.
Legal fees and all that stuff. So basically, he is told, well, you have this Airbnb you should go to, or whatever. He's like, I'm just going to go there. And that's where he goes, is to this house.
This is one of my favorite parts of the movie, and it's just him going into the Airbnb and being in the Airbnb with other people's stuff, and just him being an asshole, right? And him walking in, and then he sees the bag, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And then he walks into the bathroom and he sees a toothbrush,
and he's
then he
calling
picks up
people, and
it's great because he's calling them and he's like, "Don't y'all fucking clean this place?" And they're like, "We don't clean it until someone else books it." And he's like, "What kind of fucking stupid policy is that?" And then she's like, "Good night, sir," and just hangs up on him.
I mean, I appreciate Justin Long's character because he is an asshole. Like that's the overarching lesson that we learn, is that he's an asshole. He probably did what the woman accused him of.
Well, he admits to it. He does kind of admit to it. Yeah.
I mean, it's like a phone call with her, or her message machine that he was advised not to.
Well, he really admitted it when he was. The only other scene we see, other than a couple office scenes with Justin Long, is that he meets his friend at a bar.
And they use the F word, and I'm not talking about fuck. I'm not.
That is true.
Dude, I remember being a kid and watching comedies. People would use the F word referring to gay people all the time, and it was just regular dialogue. But because we've went 10 years, and we've now kind of erased that word from kind of history, and I'm happy about that. It's it's a horrible word, but whenever you haven't heard it that long in a large setting, and loud, during a movie, and all of a sudden some dude's like, "What up?" And I'm like, "Whoa, dude, my ears burnt a little bit. It was so loud."
Yeah. I was gonna say something, I can't remember, but So, that's the other thing. Me and Jeff were talking about how they the movie just constantly throws you off, because in the middle of the rain, when the girl's trying to get in the house, her phone rings twice, and it's this guy Marcus. And this whole time, you're just assuming, at least me and Jeff were anyway, that Justin Long was Marcus.
Yeah, we didn't know.
Oh, I didn't.
We didn't know if it was him.
I mean,
like an old boyfriend,
but
what.
you would think that person
Would be what it
come
was,
into
yeah.
play, like come into play at some point. Like, but again, it was only there to throw you off.
I just forgot about it, actually.
Oh yeah, no, my expectations were that Marcus was going to show up at some point. Even at one point in my head, I was like, maybe that homeless guy's Marcus that's run into Warner not to go back in the house. But,
we did forget that. We did. There is a homeless person that's scary that is basically chasing after her, but we found out later he's probably a friend. But
he reminds me a lot of the homeless guy from Return of the Living Dead 3. He's very nice.
Pigeon Man from Home Alone.
Yeah.
Or the Pigeon Lady from Home Alone, Shovel Guy from Home Alone 1.
That's it.
So
who stinks more?
Pigeon Lady.
Pigeon Lady.
No doubt. Yeah.
So so we get this. So this is how Justin. We told you how the other people end up in this dungeon. Let me just set the scene of how Justin Long ends up in the dungeon.
Richard's favorite part.
So he's so he goes downstairs. He sees the mirror and everything, and so he's investigating, and because it's his house, why not? And he's got a tape measure out, and he's trying to get the square footage of things, because the more square footage, the more he can sell the house for. So he finds the bed with the video camera and a bloody handprint on the wall, and just continues like, hell yes, and just is measuring away, measuring the hallway. He finds the other false door that leads downstairs, and he's just running that tape measure all the way down them stairs.
It's dumb as hell, and I would not remember the square. I would forget the numbers first and foremost.
Well, and I'll give it this: the tone of what he's doing, it is funny, and because it is a funny scene. I agree with, like, I mean, it is, the music's kind of happy, and he's weird, and I mean, he's an asshole, and you're already pretty sure he's an asshole, so you're okay with what's about to happen because you know what's about to happen, and so then the titty lady comes and gets him.
Well, I do want to mention,
but
something.
It is a freaky part because he's got the tape measure in his hand, and all of a sudden it just yanks out of his hand, and
his flashlight starts going on and off, and we slowly see her like getting closer. Well, so I do want to mention I want to mention something about this film that I really appreciate, because we're about to get into a little bit of the ridiculousness of it, but it's storytelling and how characters, how they force knowledge onto characters. And a really good example of this is earlier on in the movie when Justin Long gets there. There's a chair bracing the door open to the basement, and he goes and grabs the chair, and the camera cuts from behind the chair, so we see him dragging the chair back to the kitchen. And later on in the movie, when he's just constantly walking back and forth, he's like, is anyone there? And he can't, he's going through this whole spiel of why is these people's stuff still there? And then he kind of grows tired of it, and he sits down on the kitchen table at the chair, and it's shot from behind. So what we see is the back rails of the chair that he had dragged, and we're looking behind him. And at that moment, we pause for a second, and then he kind of turns and looks at the chair. And that's the way for the movie to tell us that that's how he was reminded that, wait, the door was propped open by the chair. Yeah. Why? I really like little stuff like that. And a lot of movies do that, and we don't pay attention to it. We just kind of take it for granted. But think about how they had to storyboard that and go, how can we can make it obvious in our minds why he would remember, but we have to convey this on camera, So I really dig that. I dig that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
So once he gets down there, that's whenever he falls into this hole, and then she's down there, and then we get the flashback.
He's like, shh.
Yeah.
And then it cuts again at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and we flash all the way back to 1980 something. I
1980
assume.
something.
It was further back, wasn't it?
Maybe 70s. I mean, maybe 70s. I don't know. I don't think they timestamp it, but but maybe they did, and I just wasn't paying attention. I assume late 70s, if anything.
Well, regardless, it's Richard Brake from
Amazing.
3 from Hell and everything. This dude is one of the ugliest actors in Hollywood. And yet he has the best, like, he kind of reminds me of like the guy who played Rorschach.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's what he makes me think of.
Jackie Earl.
I think you mean the
Freddy Krueger?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Bummer.
Yeah. So Richard Brake's character we get, and he's a creepo.
Oh, he's awful. And this is another use of like some of the really interesting shooting style that the director uses, because we're essentially following him or we're alongside him when he's doing something. So basically we watch him walk and talk to the neighbor. He's like, hey, buddy, I'm out of here. Well, that's after he follows a lady from the grocery store home.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the trunk of his car, puts on a suit that had like an electrician suit or something, and it had a different name than what his neighbor calls him. I don't know if you guys caught that.
No, yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah.
Well, and he's even wearing it while he's talking to the neighbor, and I was waiting. I mean, I wish the neighbor had said something.
Yeah, that would have brought a little chaos.
Just something.
Yeah, but like, it's everything's just going unnoticed in this neighborhood is kind of what I took from that. Like, nobody's seeing Richard Brake bring these women into his house and do this kind of stuff. But
we also get an awesome shot of the neighborhood before it's derelict, and it looks really cool. It's like a technicolored part of the movie.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yep, I dig it.
But he puts on that suit and he goes and knocks on the lady's door that he stalked from the grocery store. He's like, I gotta just check something, and she lets him in, and he goes into the bathroom and he unlocks the window, and then he leaves. And what I love about this is that's all we see.
Right. Yeah. They could have
they
made it a lot more
dig into it. Yeah.
No, we never see him actually taking her. We never see him actually doing anything completely wrong. I mean, like going into her house, unlocking the window, that's bad. But I mean, like, we never see him kill anybody, right?
No.
I mean,
I never even thought that. Well, I guess it's implied that he had to have killed people, but it's implied, right, that he's just he's having babies with these women, and then the babies have babies with the babies, and it's just on and on. He was having
babies with the babies. That's what it was. That it's not inbreeding and all that kind of stuff. But at some point, later, Justin Long, we'll kind of get through this next part because it's kind of hectic and rushed once they both get out of the cage, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But Justin Long goes somewhere. He goes down the hall. And the homeless guy comes back into play here because our main character, the girl, gets out and he drops a little quote and says, like, and she's not even the worst part of the house. So what he was referring to as this guy, they knew this guy was a bad guy and like what he was doing at this house. So, that's when it cuts to Justin Long going in the room, and the Richard Brake can't talk anymore. He's just, he's like 90 or whatever. He can't move. He's on oxygen in his bed essentially. And Justin Long's
it's all dirt. It's all gross. I mean, it's not. He's been living underground. Yeah.
I do like how Richard Brake is just like.
He's like, what? The water?
Hand me the gun so I can kill you. Hand me the gun.
Well, I just think it's funny. He's like Lassie. It's like, what you want, boy? Water? Yeah. It's a little weird. And then, so Justin gives him some water. He drinks, and then he asks for he's asking for something else. And Justin Long's like, fuck it, I'll just bring over this whole nightstand to you, and oh no, we just lost Matthew. We'll keep going. He'll pop on back on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So we get the nightstand scooted over to the bed, and he pulls out a gun, and Justin's like, no, 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 and then he turns the gun on himself, and now Matt's back just in time.
Had a major function there.
So what we got to was that, Justin brought that table over. Richard Brake grabs the gun out of it and he's killing himself. But he's real old and slow, so he's taking his time through that drawer. But that's when Justin finds all those snuff films the guy made. The films. He has a whole list, and they have if you were reading the labels, they're kind of bad stuff was written on them. It was like, do you remember any? I can't remember any.
I can't remember anything, but some of it was like pink skirt, like some of them were just details of the women.
Well, I love that we don't see it.
Right, yeah, because
we don't see what Justin sees, and Justin's like, "You sick son of a bitch."
Yeah,
Do I sound okay, guys?
You're okay.
I just don't. The camera isn't as good.
Oh, yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
But yeah, we get that, and then we get cut back to our other lady at this point because she's insistent that she has to go back in and save Justin Long, even though he's kind of a bad person.
She did get the cops involved, but they just.
Dude, that was so frustrating because I knew the second that I saw her come out of the house and she looked like a crackhead, I was like, she has no hope.
Well, and some people could say, well, this isn't realistic, but I just feel like it is.
Yeah.
in the line of work I'm in.
In the grand scheme, yeah.
So yeah, it sucks, but I do believe that that's the way they probably would have been. They kind of tried to help, but then it didn't help because she would say where she was at, and then they were like, well, that's a terrible part.
Yeah. I thought for sure they wouldn't even take her back, but they at least took her back to the house. They just got a call, and then she went up to him, touched with him, and they were like, all right, we're getting out of here.
So once it breaks down, once she goes back there to get, once she finally goes back to get Justin, what I like about it is she's able to get him out of there. And then when they come out, the homeless guy had already told her, don't be around here at nighttime. Yeah. And then they come out and it's kind of blue outside. It's not completely dark yet. So you get this feeling like that the woman's not going to bust out of the door coming after her, but she does.
Oh yeah.
And it's pretty fantastic.
She hits her with a car.
She hits her with a car, and then they eventually make their way to the homeless guy's camp, and we get another moment there where they're talking, and then she's like, we need to get out of here, and then he's like, don't worry about her, I've lived here so many years, she'd never come here. Boom, she busts through the door. And this just goes to tell you, you don't take her bye-bye, you don't take her bye-bye. Bye. I'm saying it more like Mora from Schitt's Creek. Don't take my bye-bye.
Because now she thinks of Justin as her baby. Because
we
didn't.
Yeah, the girl too. Both of them.
I guess both of them. But she fed Justin.
Yeah, she breastfed Justin. We kind of skipped over that part because there's a weird pillow room where just an old 80s VHS tape on mothering is playing.
Yeah.
So I really liked that, and just the use of the stuff like that within the film. I thought that was really cool. It's it's an action we're watching our characters go through, but it's also explaining to us how the characters in the movie got the way they are.
Also, kind of, there's a conversation whenever he's talking, Justin Long he thinks that he accidentally shoots her in the tunnel earlier on, and he has this dialogue where he's like, I thought I was a bad guy. Maybe I'm just a good guy who's done bad things. And I'm like, dude, I love this. they're doing the Kyle Rittenhouse, right? They're doing like maybe this is just a good guy who done a bad thing,
I mean,
and people like that exist. Just because you do something bad doesn't mean you're inherently a bad guy. You can just be a good person who accidentally does bad things. And I'm like, oh, cool. We're going to tackle this little subject here of how not everybody's inherently evil. You can just make mistakes and maybe you can come back from them. Nope. No,
well,
not at all.
he's not a good guy. So yeah, basically it ends up we get you really have to suspend belief at this point because she's been hit by a car, and I mean all sorts of things has happened to this whatever she is. I mean, normal person, but's been inbred so much. I mean, but that's what I don't understand is like, how old was all this happening? Because the woman had to be at least 60 or 70, right?
Well, we don't know how old she is. Whenever you're inbred and you live in a cave, that might mess up your growth exponentially. Yeah. I looked at it like as a hills have eyes type thing. That's kind of how I looked at her. Is like, those guys were like super strength, and no real reason to be.
Yeah.
But
so now we get this weird water tower thing or something where they climb up to get away from her, which never makes sense in horror movies, but it's okay. And I don't know. I guess we can just breeze through the end, but I mean, I do appreciate the movie for taking the chances it does and throwing us off its game so much.
Do you know that I would have did it? I talked to my wife as we were driving home from this, and I was like, yeah, I've done the same thing probably.
I mean, toss somebody else off to save yourself.
To be fair, in his mind, he may have thought, well, she is shot. She is probably dying or going to bleed to death. She may already be dead. But that's not the part I'm saying that I think is realistic. It's the gun fumble. It's the gun that I would do.
Yeah.
I may sacrifice myself to save another person, but what I would definitely do is drop the fucking gun.
And then so we get this really amazing shot as Justin he's like, go get your baby, and he throws her off the thing, and then like Batman, the old lady jumps after her and is like, I mean, but the shot is amazing. So all you see is this old naked lady like coming through the screen.
It's insinuated that the naked lady kind of called up to her, grabbed her, and then pulled, and like the naked lady took the bump.
It wasn't Justin Long sacrificing the girl. It was the naked lady sacrificing herself to save the baby.
Yeah.
A lot of role reversals like throughout this entire film, which I really liked. And like I said, the expectations and stuff.
So
at the end, who's the bad guy,
Yeah. Who's the barbarian?
Who's the cannibal now?
So we get Justin going down to the bodies, and the girl is still alive.
Oh, yeah. She pops right up, like no injury at all, grabs Justin Long by the face, and she gives him the old two thumb.
Well, first we see our main girl like alive.
Right.
And he's like, oh shit. He's like, I was just doing, he's trying to get out of it and all this. And then
she doesn't just give him the old eye poke. She shoves her fingers into the sockets and then peels his head like a monkey peels a banana. Just straight down the middle. Which I love.
Then we get the saddest part of the movie where she's still alive and she goes to check on her baby, and the girl reaches for the gun and she's just like, nope. Cuts to the credits and we hear a gunshot.
Mm-hmm. The whole time the woman's just saying, baby, bye.
She was just motherly instincts, and she died because obviously she kept.
I mean, she's a victim too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I had I really wish something else happened to that guy. Like I don't think that was a satisfying conclusion to his story.
Richard Drake?
Yeah.
Yeah. He got off easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that was a satisfying. And so I think if I have in thinking about it, if I have a big problem with the movie, that's probably the biggest problem. Is like, yeah, he got everything he wanted out of life, and then took his life when he didn't want it no more.
Yeah, that's the old Epstein.
Yeah, it really is.
Hillary Clinton was somewhere. No, sorry, you're probably flagged now.
I know.
So anyway, I like this movie more than when I first saw it, like thinking about it and going through it. And it's not a movie that I absolutely hate. And it's not that I don't think it's a good movie. I think the plot holes that are there are bad, but I really liked Alex, and I've never seen it, that's just not the new ones anyway. So, but I really like Skarsgård in this movie. I really wish he was in it more. And I hope he does more things, and I'm assuming he will. And he's supposed to do the Crow movie, but I never actually think there's a new Crow movie coming.
I think they've pretty much definitively got that locked down now, but you never know. They came pretty close before.
I mean, it's been teased so many times, and honestly, I don't necessarily need a Crow reboot anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But he would be cool.
Sequels.
Huh?
We already have, yeah.
Just watch those 2 sequels.
Is there just 2? No, I think there's City.
Anyway.
I think there's City of Angels. And is there one Salvation, or is that just Terminator?
Yes, there's City of Angels. And then there's Salvation,
and then Wicked Prayer.
And then Wicked Prayer.
Well, I only have 2 of them.
Salvation is not bad. It's got Kirsten Dunst in it, and I like how they do his makeup. It makes no sense because he's being put to death in an electric chair, and they put a metal thing over his face, and it has like the bolts so it burns into his face. I can't remember. It's like Eric Abana or somebody.
Oh, I like him.
I think it's him.
City of Angels City of Angels is not bad. It's just it's okay. It's just it had a lot to live up to.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
There was a TV show too.
God, what an interesting time in horror that we have right now. We have tons of new movies coming out. Trailers are dropping left and right. We're going into the October season. I think most of what you're going to be hearing from us in October is going to be all new movies, right?
Maybe. I mean, you got Hellraiser.
God.
I mean, you got tons of stuff.
Halloween Ends, Hellraiser, New Addams Family, New Monsters, New Hocus Pocus.
I'm not talking about that.
Left and right. It's just all over the place.
And we have our trashy movies to talk about.
Watch.
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus.
Let's rate this one. I tried last year and I made it about halfway, and my wife was like, "Yeah, we don't need to watch this." And so
wait, do we rate our special episodes?
We can.
We can.
I'd like to for this one.
Okay, let's rate it. Let's have you start, Jeff.
So for me, I really had a good time with this one, and it reminded me of another one that I had a really good time with last year, which was Malignant from James Wan. So, oh well, how about that? I would rate this one a 4.5.
Oh yeah. Wow!
Whoa!
Because I think that's probably my highest one now at this point. But I give it a high rating just because
you did a 4.5 for something
Pearl.
else.
Yeah,
Pearl.
There we go. Those are hitting hard.
Oh wait, yeah.
We haven't released Pearl yet.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
So I liked Malignant a lot better than I like this because I like the tone of Malignant. I feel like Malignant would be right up Richard's aisle.
Yeah, I would. I mean, but knowing and I watched like 30 minutes of it one time, but I just couldn't, knowing the end and stuff. I don't know. I just couldn't make it. But one of these days, I'll probably finish it.
So to me, I would probably give this a 3. And the reason I would give it a 3 is because it actually reminds me a little bit more of the early to mid 2000s horror. Her effects and the special effects done on the old lady kind of reminded me of that. We talked a little bit about Wreck and how she kind of looked like some of those creatures, and even like the Hills Have Eyes remake. So that's kind of what this put me more in the mood of, except for tonally very different and written in a completely different way. So I'm going to give it a 3.
I'm so pissed off I left.
No, you've just turned into Hal 2000.
Hold on. I give this a 0.5. No, I'm just kidding. I give this. Hold on, let me.
I feel like your egg is just looking right into my soul. I feel like you're.
That's not my egg.
There's something in the middle.
Baby.
Baby.
Bye.
Well, I thought I could be back, but apparently it doesn't want to be. Okay, so I give this a 4.5.
All right.
Nice.
No,
actually, there was a whole trash talk episode like this one.
No, I don't give this 4.5. I was just kidding. I mean, I give it a 3. I give it a 3. It's good.
Okay. That's good. That's a pretty good score.
Like, no camera is working. I think it's because we said Epstein.
I said Epstein. You fucked up and said Hillary. You put those two together and they cancel each other out. Now, just no one say like Princess Diana or who's the other? What's the other president that got his brain blown out?
Abraham Lincoln.
No. The one in the car, Jackie-O.
Oh,
Jack. I just envision me barely saying Kennedy, and then all of a sudden a bullet shoots through and blows my head off. How are you bouncing back and forth from camera to camera like that, Richard?
I'm amazing.
It seems like some tricky editing. My shit's shut down, and I'm using a 1997 camera.
I got all sorts of cameras. No,
Jeff, you should be concerned about that. You were just sleeping there.
Stay tuned to the YouTube page. No, I do like this movie, and like I said, I give it a 3. I mean, I could see it being raised. I mean, sometimes when you see a movie and you don't know what to expect, it's hard to rate it because it's hard to know how you feel. Because I literally didn't know anything about this movie. I didn't watch a trailer. I knew about the woman and I knew about the stairs. That's basically it. So, overall, I mean, it's worth checking out, and I'll probably likely own it. And I'd like to see more stuff from this guy.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's like Jordan Peele, like just being a comedian and, hey, I can direct stuff too.
Seems to be the thing, man. Halloween all of it. They're just all comedians.
I do think, since I've seen a lot of movies this year, and I'll see more by the end of the year, we'll probably, as much as I hate list episodes, we'll probably do a list episode.
Sounds like a plan to me. Maybe we can do some awards.
Does this get the Razzie?
No, dude. We've watched a lot of shit this year, okay? And most of the shit that would be considered shitty shit is the shit that I rated the highest shit.
Wait a minute. Would this lady in the basement, would she be considered a chud?
She would be. Well, was she a cannibal? She
I'm
had
not
to eat
sure.
something. She had to eat something.
Well, she snuck out every night. I thought she just went to
Burger
or something.
Man, just picture if you just happen to take a wrong turn in Albuquerque and you're driving through and some old woman titties hangling.
To be fair, this is Detroit, so it's probably fine.
Look, it could be that. It could be this monster lady, or you could just be at a Walmart. So whatever.
That is true. This is true.
All right, guys, we've been watching, we've been doing our YouTube videos, and hopefully you've been watching them. Please subscribe to our channel. We're also doing audio, so you can listen to us on Spotify and all that. But if you don't want to do that and you want to see our gorgeous faces, just go over to YouTube, look up Night and Nerdy Laser, and we're putting more and more content on there. I got to speak to Mark Norwood, who is the head of Metrothon Con. That is taking place on May 12th through the 14th, I'm going to say, without being 100%, of 2023. And they've got awesome guests such as Jonathan Franks, Kevin Sorbo, and Edward Furlong, who they've just announced. So I'm going to have to get
we are going to be there.
We will be there.
Laser will be there too.
Yep, Night and Nerdy Laser will be there, and we will have John A. Russo by our side, the writer and co-creator of Night of the Living Dead and creator of Return of the Living Dead. So be there to meet us and him and get all sorts of swag that he's got. And we'll have some t-shirts and stuff for sale too. So until next time, Jeff's going to tell you what to do.
Keep it bloody.
Matt's going to tell you why.
Dangling.
Why, Matt? Why?
Because somebody has to keep those nipples just rock hard dripping with mama's milk.
Okay, yeah, all right.